Today's lesson: Basic Bossa Nova Groove. Today's lesson focuses on the Brazilian rhythm called the Bossa Nova. I had the opportunity of traveling to Brazil, which as a drummer and a musician was one of the most exciting musical experiences I've ever had. In general, Brazilian music has everything I look for in music: strong rhythm, rich harmonies, and beautiful melodies. Ways to practice this groove. Number 1. Break the rhythm down and learn it section by section. Start with the bass drum pattern. Learn it at various tempos from 40 beats per minute to as fast as you can play it without sounding sloppy. Number 2. Add the hi-hat part to the bass drum pattern. Learn it at all tempos. Number 3. Learn the cross stick pattern. Play only the cross stick and hi-hat together. Learn this at all tempos. Number 4. Add the bass drum, cross stick, and hi-hat pattern together. Take your time and work at it slowly before gradually increasing the tempo. Number 5. Find recordings of Bossa Nova style music on YouTube or iTunes and play the drum groove along with the music. There is a lot going on within the pattern, but don't get frustrated and give up. Work at this pattern little by little, and if you have to, put it aside for some time and then come back and revisit it. It's definitely a fun groove and it's worth the effort. Before we put the entire pattern together, let's build it one part at a time. As you can see, this is the bass drum part. It's a repeating pattern where the 1st and 4th 16th note of each beat is played. As you can see, beats 2 and 4 are accented. The accent just gives the pattern more of a groove. Practice the bass drum pattern alone using the tempo chart to track your progress. Practice it from 40 beats per minute to as fast as you can play it cleanly. Take your time and make it groove. Make sure you count out loud while you're practicing. Take a look at the video and pay attention to the rhythm and the accent placement. Once you have an understanding of the bass drum part, it's time to add the hi-hat part. As you can see, the hi-hat is played on all 4 16th notes of each beat. At first, it might be difficult to play both the hi-hat and bass drum together. If you're finding it difficult, try starting with one part at a time and then adding the other. For instance, you could start with just the bass drum part by itself for a minute or so. Then, once you feel like you're ready, keep the bass drum part going and add the hi-hat part. It may take a number of attempts, and you might feel like you're never going to get it, but don't let this stop you. Every drummer has felt this at some point. It might just take a while, but just keep trying, and eventually you will get it. Now, let's take a look at the video clip, and you'll see what it sounds like. After you feel very comfortable with the bass drum and hi-hat part, it's time to add the cross stick pattern. If you are unfamiliar with what it means to cross stick, I will briefly explain it here. To play cross stick means that you will lay your left hand stick across the snare drum head with the butt end of the stick facing in the direction of your second mounted tom. The tip of the stick is on the opposite end. Your left hand will be holding the stick between the thumb and your first finger. The other fingers just kind of lie flat on the snare drum. Also, the tip end of the stick should be about an inch or so away from the rim. Each drum has a different sweet spot, so you'll have to experiment with the stick placement. To create the cross stick sound, you will lift the butt end of the stick off of the drum or rim while the tip usually remains on the head. Then you will bring the butt end back down and strike the rim. The sound you want to hear should be thick and meaty and not thin sounding. Experiment with moving the tip from the edge of the rim towards the center of the drum. Work on getting a good meaty sound before moving on to the pattern. Now let's focus on the pattern. The easiest way to learn this part is by working with only the hi-hat and cross stick pattern, leaving out the bass drum part. Make sure to count out loud. Also make sure that the hi-hat and cross stick parts are played together and not flammed, meaning don't hit the hi-hat and cross stick one after another. Make sure they are struck and sound at the same time. Go through this pattern as you have practiced the other patterns by playing them at slow tempos and gradually moving the metronome to faster tempos. Remember to make sure to pay attention to every little detail. Are you playing in perfect time? Is everything even? Are you flamming the notes? Does it sound sloppy or clean? Does it have the right groove or feel? Don't just play something and go on autopilot. Listen to what you're doing and critique it. Now, let's have a look at this pattern. After you feel comfortable with the previous patterns, it's time to put them all together. As I've mentioned before, when I'm learning difficult patterns, it's easier to piece them together one limb at a time. So, if it's difficult for you to put the entire groove together, try starting with the hi-hat part by itself. Then, when you're ready, add the bass drum part. Once you're comfortable with that, try adding the cross stick part. Really, it's up to you to decide in what order you'd like to put them all together. Also, if you're having difficulty getting the cross stick pattern, because of the three patterns, it's the one that takes the longest to repeat itself, then you could break the pattern down into smaller sections. So, if you're having a trouble spot within the groove, just break the pattern down into a smaller section and focus on the problem section until you get it. Then gradually add bigger sections until you can eventually play the entire groove. In the video example, I will start the pattern with the hi-hat and bass drum first, and then I will add the cross stick part. Let's check out the video. All of the elements found in the bossa nova groove are applicable to the samba, as well as many other styles. So make sure to work hard at it, and eventually you'll gain the freedom to play more up-tempo grooves like the one in this next video example. Make sure you look into other Brazilian styles of music. There is so much great music in Brazil, much more than just the bossa nova and the samba. Do some internet research, and I can guarantee you'll find some really cool Brazilian music that will inspire you. If you truly want to elevate your drumming and your musicality, step outside of the box. Find different forms of non-mainstream music. Listen to music from other countries and cultures. You will find a wealth of ideas by listening to music from other countries. Explore and be inspired. That's all for today's lesson. Thanks for stopping by. Keep drumming, stay inspired, and I'll see you at the next lesson. Bye for now.